C'est bon, votre réunion va démarrer.
Voilà, c'est bon. Désolé pour ce petit...
Donc bonjour les gens en ligne, hein. Les gens qui sont là, ils ont déjà eu les bienvenus et tout, on a démarré. C'était sympa de venir pour le coup. Donc on va démarrer ce Meetup, on ne va pas attendre trop longtemps parce qu'on sait qu'on a plein de choses à vous montrer, enfin surtout Peter a plein de choses à vous montrer. On parle toujours beaucoup avec Tristan, donc allons-y. Juste avant, on remercie évidemment notre hôte AZEO qui nous héberge et qui offrira le cocktail tout à l'heure. Alors je prends la parole pour AZEO parce que d'un côté, je suis l'un des fondateurs du club Power BI, donc vous me voyez, vous me connaissez depuis un moment. Et puis d'un autre côté, forcément, ici AZEO, c'est la boîte où je travaille. Moi je m'occupe d'innovation chez AZEO, mais AZEO, vous avez juste un truc à retenir, je vous rassure, je ne vais pas être super long sur AZEO. Vous avez juste un truc à retenir, on est une boîte qu'on dit pure player Microsoft, donc on fait des projets sur l'ensemble des technologies Microsoft. Un petit peu de techno un peu connexe, un peu d'open source, etc. Donc l'ensemble des technologies Microsoft, on fait des projets. Voilà. Notre métier, c'est de faire des projets, d'apporter de l'expertise, d'apporter de la valeur ajoutée à nos clients. Et il y a une super équipe data, alors ils ne sont pas tous là ce soir, mais il y en a qui peuvent quand même lever la main de l'équipe data, qui eux font des super projets Power BI, voilà, donc on s'éclate. Donc globalement, si vous voulez plus de renseignements sur AZEO, vous venez me voir tout à l'heure avec une bière et on pourra discuter de tout ça. Donc voilà, merci AZEO de nous accueillir et d'offrir les bières. C'est bizarre en fait de s'auto-congratuler pour le coup. Alors on commence toujours les meet-up pour ceux qui... D'ailleurs oui, c'est d'habitude, on commence toujours avec une question. Qui n'était jamais venu au meet-up du club Power BI? Il y en a toujours, à chaque fois, il y a toujours des nouvelles têtes. Donc en tout cas, bienvenue au meet-up du club Power BI. Donc on commence toujours par un peu de news communautaire parce qu'on est une association, on fait ça sur notre temps perso. Et donc finalement on se fait un peu d'autopromo pour ce qu'on organise dans les communautés. Évidemment vous dire ce qui arrive dans les prochains meet-up. Donc le club Power BI, c'est simple, c'est la communauté data. Vous avez juste à retenir ça. Normalement tous ceux qui sont déjà venus, vous l'avez vu 55 fois ce slide pour le coup. Donc là c'est clubpowerbi.com et vous avez les liens vers tous nos canaux. Meetup, c'est ce qu'on organise. Vous êtes là ce soir pour partager avec nous et venir écouter quelqu'un qui va partager un retour d'expérience ou des compétences. Et ce qui est très important, même si ce n'est pas ce que vous venez rechercher, le cocktail après, parce que c'est bien d'échanger entre nous, entre professionnels de Power BI. Il y a un forum. Tous les meet-ups qu'on fait sont aussi enregistrés, vous pouvez les regarder en live. Bon là vous êtes là, il n'y a pas besoin de vous brancher sur YouTube. Vous les regardez en live, mais aussi en replay si vous en avez loupé. Il y a donc 55 meet-ups. Donc en gros une centaine d'heures, un petit peu plus d'une centaine d'heures que vous pouvez regarder, si vous voulez regarder tous les épisodes. Et puis le dernier point, un forum sur lequel vous pouvez poser vos questions françaises. On a mis à jour les stats, on ne le fait pas tous les mois, mais on aime bien un peu se la raconter avec nos stats. Non, en dehors de ça...
On avait fait un dashboard Power BI à l'époque là-dessus.
Voilà, puis en fait on est des feignants. On va peut-être le faire avec une autre techno, c'est compliqué.
Ouais, ça sert à rien.
Non, en tout cas, on est super fiers de ce qui se construit et pas de ce qu'on a construit, parce qu'évidemment, une communauté, nous, on est de Pékin. Alors, si je prends tous les patrons des villes où il y a des Meetup Club Power BI, on est une bonne dizaine maintenant, 10-12 quand même, pour le coup. Mais mine de rien, il y a quand même 1800, 1900 et quelques personnes en plus qui suivent un petit peu cette communauté. Donc on est content de vous avoir et on est content que grâce à vous, en fait, ça crée vraiment une dynamique autour de ce produit. Et je vous rappelle, j'insiste à chaque fois, je rabâche beaucoup ce sujet-là. Le but de cette communauté, c'est que vous échangez aussi entre vous. Donc on vous propose des choses, mais évidemment, l'idée, c'est que vous puissiez discuter, échanger sur cet outil. Et je pense que si vous êtes là, c'est parce que vous en faites tous.
Et ça,
certains parce qu'on nous a forcés. Mais...
On commence à le voir beaucoup sur le forum où Jean-Pierre et moi, les organisateurs du club, on répond de moins en moins aux questions. Et c'est vous, en fait, entre vous, que vous vous entraidez. Donc c'est plutôt une réussite.
Donc on repasse derrière parce que c'est pas correct. Non, je plaisante, évidemment. Il n'y a pas de mauvaise réponse. Alors, on est à faire, donc les news communautaires, on a fait un peu de promo pour les copains des autres villes. Alors, Paris, c'est nous pour le coup. Donc on a, forcément, les meetups, ça va s'enchaîner à Paris, puisqu'on a ce meetup exceptionnel aujourd'hui. Mais nous, on est plutôt en début de mois à Paris. Donc le 11 février, on a notre prochain meetup qui n'a pas été annoncé encore sur le site, qui sera dans le domaine de la pub marketing. Donc les sources de données, ça va être du Twitter, du Facebook, du Google Analytics, du Adobe Analytics, des choses comme ça. Ça sera chez Publicis, exactement Publicis Sapient, qui est une des filiales de Publicis, qui vont nous parler de ça. Et ça sera le 11 février. Et on voit que la semaine, elle va sur les chapeaux gros, puisqu'on aura le meet-up à Lille par Guillaume, qui sera sur les Power Virtual Agent et Power BI avec Dynamics. L'outil de CRM et bien plus de Microsoft. Et le même jour à Lyon, Donc il faudra voir comment
On
ça
va
marche
avoir
sur
un petit
YouTube.
challenge avec la chaîne YouTube.
Challenge
Ouais.
sur la chaîne YouTube. Le même jour à Lyon, on a d'ailleurs Marie qui s'occupe du Meetup de Lyon. Un sujet sur la data vise avancée. Hein. C'est bon, on engage. Hein. Donc maintenant, je ne peux plus reculer, c'est data vise avancée pour le coup. Donc ce sera le 13 février. Excellente date pour organiser un Meetup. Et enfin, à Nantes, le 18 février, un sujet qui sera plutôt pas mal. Je me demande si je ne vais pas moi, aller à Nantes ce jour-là. Sur un custom visual et un retour d'expérience de la SNCF qui a développé un custom visual sur, et je vous fais le teasing, comment mettre du son dans un rapport Power BI. J'en dis pas plus. Donc évidemment, soit vous prenez votre billet de train pour aller à Nantes, si la SNCF fonctionne bien, hein, on espère. Normalement, ils nous ont dit qu'ils vont tout mettre en œuvre pour que ce meet-up puisse avoir du monde. Non, plus sérieusement, vous pourrez le regarder en live. Et je fais pas d'autres teasing. Je pense qu'il y aura une annonce et je laisserai Paul, puisque c'est lui qui s'en occupe, à Nantes le faire. Donc on aura une petite annonce autour justement de ce custom visual. Voilà, j'en dis pas plus, mais vous voyez.
Je suis même pas au courant.
Voilà. C'était dans le club Power BI Orga, en fait, dans l'organisation. Autre chose qu'on veut annoncer dans les news communautaires, on l'avait dit un peu en off, mais il n'y avait pas de slide le mois dernier, je crois, c'était dans le début janvier, on en avait pas un petit peu parlé. Pour ceux qui nous suivent depuis un moment, vous savez qu'on organise une conférence annuelle, on en a déjà fait 2, au mois de juin, qui s'appelle le Power Saturday. L'idée, c'est de faire la même chose que ce qu'on fait en Meetup, mais tranquillement, toute la journée. Alors, on le fait aussi pendant le jour, il y a aussi le vendredi, mais pendant toute une journée, dans des salles de conférence avec un speaker qui prend le temps pendant 1 heure d'expliquer un sujet bien précis. Donc c'est vraiment quelque chose, c'est vraiment un moment de partage et de prise d'informations, de prise de connaissances pour vous, qui est assez important. Donc ça aura lieu le 5 et 6 juin. Donc le 5, c'est une journée de pré-conférence payante qui peut s'assimiler à une journée de formation, hein, si on faisait un petit parallèle. Vous êtes avec un expert toute la journée sur un sujet donné. Et le samedi, en fait, c'est une journée de conférence. Vous avez le choix entre différents sujets. On organise ça avec différentes communautés, donc ça parlera de data, ça parlera de Power BI, ça parlera potentiellement de Power Apps, de Flow, enfin voilà, Power Automate et Power Virtual Agent. Enfin globalement, voilà, toute la galaxie Power qu'on a chez Microsoft, avec Microsoft, aura lieu le 5 et 6 juin, donc restez informés, le site n'est pas à jour. Hein. Si vous y allez, vous aurez les photos et les infos de l'année dernière, mais justement on a le kick-off et on est en train de lancer l'organisation de cette magnifique conférence.
D'ailleurs, on recherche des speakers et des sponsors. Voilà. Donc, on communiquera là-dessus, mais si ça vous intéresse, vous pouvez déjà vous positionner.
Donc le speaker, il faut partager ses connaissances et le sponsor, il faut partager sa thune. C'est aussi simple que ça, pour le coup. Bon, je pense qu'on a terminé pour les news communautaires.
Ouais.
C'est bizarre, j'ai l'impression de ne pas être assez bavard aujourd'hui.
Si,
on a peut-être moins de news. Et bien donc l'autre rubrique habituelle, c'est les news. Voilà. T'as vu les scènes ou pas?
Non.
Non. Oh mince.
Ah, effectivement. Alors, bonsoir à tous, je vais juste me présenter rapidement parce qu'il y a beaucoup de nouveaux. Donc, je m'appelle Tristan, j'ai fondé le Club Power BI avec Jean-Pierre.
Et moi c'est Jean-Pierre, je crois que j'ai pas dit mon prénom.
Il y a à peu près 3 ans. Je suis particulièrement content d'être ici avec vous ce soir parce que je suis un ancien d'AZEO en fait. Donc ça me fait plaisir de revenir dans la boîte qui m'a formé et qui m'a initié à la data et à la BI.
Pardon? Il n'est pas parti, on l'a viré.
Là en plus on est dans leurs nouveaux locaux, donc je suis particulièrement content d'être là avec vous ce soir. Alors effectivement, moi d'habitude je m'occupe de vous montrer un petit peu les nouveautés sur le produit. Comme l'an dernier, il n'y a pas eu de mise à jour en janvier du desktop. En revanche, il y en aura bien une en février. Nous on y a accès, on sait ce qui va sortir, on ne peut pas vous en dire plus. Il y a de très belles choses qui vont sortir prochainement. Donc ce qu'on va faire à la place, pour qu'on puisse quand même un petit peu échanger sur la partie news communautaire, on s'est dit que cette fois-ci, on allait plutôt essayer de répondre. Ah oui, pardon, désolé, j'ai pas vu les slides en fait. Donc il y aura la partie forum. Juste avant, on voulait vous sensibiliser à quelque chose qui est sorti avant-hier, je crois, qui est la roadmap de la Power Platform, donc Power BI, Power Apps et Flow, enfin Power Automate, sur toute l'année 2020. Donc en fait, Microsoft, il y a un site, on vous a mis le lien, vous annonce publiquement ce qui va sortir au cours des prochains mois. Alors la date peut potentiellement bouger, souvent plutôt de manière plus ultérieure, mais en tout cas ça vous donne une vision d'où le produit va et de ce que Microsoft s'engage à sortir au cours de la prochaine année. Moi, il y a un truc sur lequel je voulais m'attarder 2 secondes, parce que je remonte à Microsoft ce feedback à peu près toutes les semaines, et je suis content de le voir dans la roadmap. Donc je l'ai juste ouvert très rapidement, je vais vous retrouver ça, ça doit être ici. Hop. Voilà. Donc là, c'est le lien vers le site web. Donc là, je suis dans la rubrique Power BI. Donc là, vous voyez un petit peu toutes les fonctionnalités qui vont sortir avec des petits liens qui vous expliquent un petit peu plus en détail. Et là, j'ai vu ce truc-là. J'ai vu ça un matin, franchement, ça m'a fait ma journée. J'étais particulièrement content de voir ça. Donc, les modèles composites avec Power BI ou Azure Analysis Services comme source de données. Alors, il y en a peut-être pour qui c'est du chinois, là, ce que je suis en train de dire. Concrètement, ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire que depuis Power BI Desktop, on va bientôt, en août 2020, pouvoir se connecter en live à un jeu de données ou un cube Power BI dans Azure Analysis Services. Donc profiter de tout ce qu'ont fait mes Power Users en termes de modélisation. Peter va nous en parler beaucoup ce soir, de DAX et plus généralement de modèles BI. Et en même temps, sans avoir à importer des données, on reste connecté en live à ce fameux jeu de données. On va pouvoir aller les croiser, soit avec un autre cube, soit avec un autre jeu de données, soit avec une autre source de données. Et là, le cas classique que j'ai chez tous mes clients, c'est le département qui a son petit fichier Excel budget dans son coin, qu'on n'a pas intégré dans le modèle de base bien fait. Et là, avec les modèles composites qui prennent comme source les jeux de données Power BI ou Azure Analysis Services, on aura, à mon sens, la parfaite réunion entre la Corporate BI et la Self-Service BI. C'est deux concepts dont on vous a beaucoup parlé au cours des derniers Meetup. Donc surveillez bien ça, ça va sortir normalement en août 2020. Pour les plus techniques d'entre vous, concrètement, ça veut dire que Microsoft va implémenter le DirectQuery, qui est un mode de connexion à une source de données. Donc, Microsoft va implémenter le DirectQuery sur le moteur Analysis Services. Voilà, ça c'était juste pour la petite partie technique. Globalement, retenez que vous allez pouvoir faire du multisource et que ça va décupler vos capacités analytiques, vos capacités de croisement. Et je pense que ça va encore plus renforcer le lien entre la BI, entre guillemets, IT ou corporate et la BI métier.
Et moi j'en ai choisi une aussi. J'en ai choisi une aussi, moi, pour le coup. Alors pour ceux qui me connaissent et qui ont vu les épisodes précédents, normalement il n'y aurait pas de doute là-dessus. Alors il faut juste que je retrouve où il est. Pour moi, c'est celui-là. Hop. C'est bien contrôle 1 pour... Ouais, super. Email subscription with bookmark. Et donc j'avais fait un meetup où on avait parlé justement de comment partager, on collaborait. Et en effet, c'est difficile de se dire, j'ai envie de partager à un tel le rapport, mais mis sur ses données, à un tel mis sur ses données, et donc pré-câblé. Le fait de pouvoir faire des abonnements par email et de pouvoir les brancher typiquement sur un bookmark, ben en fait, on va pouvoir, par exemple, on a le cas ici, hein, nous on fait des tableaux de bord, où finalement on a 5-6 équipes, et ben en fait, je vais créer des abonnements différenciés, je vais pouvoir dire, j'ai un bookmark pour l'équipe 1, je vais l'abonner à ce bookmark-là, j'ai un bookmark pour l'équipe 2, je vais pouvoir l'abonner sur ça. Alors évidemment, si vous avez 150 équipes, ça fait un petit peu de travail, mais globalement aujourd'hui c'est un petit peu compliqué, ça fait un peu du n'importe quoi, c'est compliqué avec les filtres. Là, l'avantage des bookmarks, ça sera beaucoup plus simple et beaucoup plus facile à implémenter. Donc ça va nous aider finalement dans tout ce qui est partage et collaboration. Par contre, j'ai pas regardé la date, donc je vais me faire peur en même temps que vous. C'est avril, ça va, avant toi, tu vois, donc je pourrais me raconter un petit peu avant. Donc on en a choisi 2, mais évidemment, on pourrait passer la soirée à décrire avec vous les éléments sur la roadmap. On le fera, je vous rassure, hein, dès que ça sort, on le fera, c'est le but du Club Power BI de vous montrer ces nouveautés. Je te laisse la séquence suivante.
Des questions là, jusqu'à présent, non? Ok. Donc, on continue. Hop. Voilà. Donc ça, c'était la partie que je vous ai spoilée il y a 5 minutes parce que j'avais pas vu les slides. On a décidé, puisqu'il n'y a pas de mise à jour sur Power BI Desktop, de traiter une question du forum. Pour vous encourager aussi à y aller, à poser des questions, à entraider des utilisateurs qui se posent les mêmes questions que vous. Donc en l'occurrence, c'est une question que m'a posée un de mes clients. Je suis intervenu chez un client il y a quelques semaines, on a traité différentes problématiques et là il a posé une question sur le forum, donc c'est bien, il va pouvoir avoir un petit peu de consulting gratuit. Je vais vous montrer tout de suite la question. Donc là je suis sur le forum du Club Power BI, l'une des ressources qu'on vous a présentées en introduction. Vous avez juste besoin d'un mail, tout est gratuit, hein, on ne vous l'a pas précisé, mais vous n'avez aucun droit à l'entrée. Comme vous le voyez, le forum commence à être sacrément actif, hein. On a 942 discussions, donc ça doit vous montrer que vous n'êtes pas les seuls à essayer de comprendre le DAX, Power Query, la modélisation, la data vise. Il y a une vraie communauté qui est en train de se construire. Donc là, vous voyez, il y a différents posts qui sont proposés par des membres du club Power BI. Et donc, on va s'attarder à cette question qui a été posée par un membre. Alors, il ne faut pas se faire avoir avec le mot Dynamics, hein, ça n'a rien à voir avec la technologie Microsoft qui s'appelle Dynamics. D'ailleurs, on a un expert au fond de la salle là, qui vient de s'installer et qui bosse sur cette techno. Moi, je bosse pas là-dessus. L'utilisateur s'est trompé, il voulait dire attribution de droit dynamique. Q-U-E-S, d'accord ? Pas de confusion avec l'outil Microsoft Dynamics. Voilà, c'était juste pour planter le décor. Donc, quelle est la question ? On ne va pas forcément tout lire. Globalement, en fait, la question qui pose cet utilisateur, c'est autour de la sécurité. Est-ce que vous avez déjà entendu parler dans Power BI de la RLS, Row Level Security? Très rapidement, pour vous expliquer ce que c'est, parce que sinon vous n'allez pas comprendre le but du use case, l'idée dans Power BI, c'est qu'on a un jeu de données, on va pouvoir faire plusieurs rapports dessus, et puis derrière, on va distribuer les rapports, ou éventuellement, on va pouvoir donner accès au jeu de données sous-jacent à des utilisateurs, mais peut-être avec la contrainte suivante, je veux que tel groupe de users voit que la France, ou que telle catégorie de produits, et puis un autre groupe d'utilisateurs va voir que les USA, ou telle catégorie, tel store, tel magasin, etc. Donc ça, c'est ce qu'on appelle, même pas forcément dans Power BI, mais dans la BI au sens large, la restriction à la ligne, la sécurité d'accès. Et dans Power BI, on a une méthode, enfin on a en l'occurrence deux moyens de gérer cette sécurité à la ligne, un peu plus intelligemment que je vais faire un jeu de données par option ou par combinaison possible. On va pouvoir centraliser dans le fameux jeu de données Power BI, dans Power BI Desktop, des petites règles qui vont permettre d'attribuer dynamiquement le bon droit, le bon niveau d'accès en fonction de la personne. Donc là, c'est ce que demande cette personne. Et en l'occurrence, il veut aller un peu plus loin parce que, justement, je lui avais parlé pendant mon intervention qu'il existait deux méthodes. Donc il y a une première méthode qui consiste, en fait, donc je vais ouvrir tout de suite un modèle. Donc là, vous voyez, j'ai un modèle classique en étoile avec une table de faits et différentes tables de dimensions des référentiels métiers. Et par exemple, on pourrait se dire, là vous voyez, j'ai une table géographique où j'ai des ventes dans différents pays, différentes villes. Et on pourrait se dire qu'on va vouloir donner accès à ce report ou au jeu de données associé à un groupe d'utilisateurs qui devra voir, par exemple, que les données Europe ou que les données Asie. D'accord ? Donc cet utilisateur, il a mis en place un premier niveau de sécurité qui est disponible ici, dans la vue modélisation. Vous voyez ici, il y a un menu qui s'appelle « Gérer les rôles ». Donc en fait, dans Power BI Desktop, vous allez pouvoir définir des rôles qui vont justement gérer le filtrage et les niveaux d'accès. Et ça, c'est la première méthode qui consiste à créer autant de rôles qu'il y a de possibilités ou de configurations. Alors, elle attire beaucoup mes clients et globalement l'écosystème parce qu'elle est assez facile à mettre en place. Globalement, on crée un rôle, on met des filtres. Là, vous voyez par exemple, j'ai créé un rôle Copenhague et en fait, je suis allé filtrer. Donc là, c'est une expression d'axe. Je pourrais mettre tout ce que je veux à droite là, de l'écran. Et donc, je vais passer un jeu de filtres sur une ou plusieurs tables. Je fais un petit peu ce que je veux. Donc ça, c'est la méthode que cet utilisateur avait mise en place. Le problème, c'est que, comme souvent, il s'est rendu compte que c'était compliqué à maintenir. Pourquoi ? Parce que là, j'ai 4 rôles, mais vous vous imaginez bien que dans la vraie vie, vous pourriez avoir beaucoup plus que 4 rôles. Et quand on commence à déployer une application Power BI, des reports Power BI à un grand nombre d'utilisateurs, la maintenance de ce type de mise en place de Row Level Security s'avère particulièrement compliquée. D'accord ? Moi, j'ai des clients là, en ce moment qui s'arrachent les cheveux parce qu'ils ont mis en place ce genre de sécurité avec la méthode 1, celle que je vous montre, qui s'appelle la méthode statique, et qui comporte beaucoup de difficultés lors de la maintenance. Donc facilité de mise en place, mais complexité en termes de maintenance. Le but là de ce cas, on va passer 10 minutes dessus, je vais vous montrer une méthode dynamique qui est plus compliquée à mettre en place, parce qu'elle nécessite d'être un petit peu plus à l'aise avec certains concepts de modélisation. Par contre, elle est beaucoup plus facile ensuite à gérer en run, entre guillemets, une fois que votre report ou votre jeu de données est en production, l'administration et la gestion de ces rôles va être un petit peu plus fluide. Donc, concrètement, comment ça marche cette méthode dynamique ? Et c'est la réponse que je lui ai adressée. En fait, on ne va pas créer autant de rôles qu'il y a de configurations, on va créer juste un seul rôle. Et toute la complexité de la sécurité et de l'attribution des droits, on va la gérer dans une table que vous pouvez stocker où vous voulez. Je vais vous montrer moi après où je l'ai stocké et comment je l'alimente. Cette table, je vais vous la montrer tout de suite. Je l'ai appelée RLS, très original. Et en fait, vous voyez, bon là, elle est très simple. En fonction de votre projet, de votre complexité, vous pourriez être amené à avoir des tables un peu plus compliquées que ça. Elle va attribuer en fait à chaque utilisateur en cible un périmètre. Donc là, j'attribue à des utilisateurs dans mon entreprise des villes. D'accord ? Ici, évidemment, je pourrais avoir une table avec plus de colonnes ou plus de lignes. Hein. Là, c'est juste un exemple. Donc, je vais avoir cette table, et c'est dans cette table que je vais gérer, entre guillemets, ce que je faisais auparavant dans les rôles ou dans les droits d'accès. Tout va se passer au niveau de cette table. Et une fois que j'ai cette table, je vais pouvoir utiliser une fonction d'axe qui est très utile. Je vous la montre ici tout de suite. Donc là, j'ai créé une mesure d'axe qui s'appelle User Principal Name et qui va retourner en fait l'UPN, donc le User Principal Name, de votre utilisateur lorsqu'il va s'authentifier sur le portail Power BI pour pouvoir avoir accès à son report. Donc ça, c'est une propriété de chaque utilisateur dans l'entreprise qui est stockée dans l'Active Directory, l'annuaire de l'entreprise. Dans 99% des cas, c'est exactement l'UPN match avec l'adresse mail. Là, ce n'est pas mon cas et je ne veux pas rentrer dans des considérations techniques de vous expliquer pourquoi. Dans le desktop, en fait, il récupère l'UPN de votre machine, de votre session Windows. Quand vous allez déployer le report dans le cloud, dans le service Power BI, il va récupérer l'UPN en fait, qui est stocké au niveau du cloud de Azure Active Directory. Et en l'occurrence, dans 99% des cas, ça match, ça correspond à mon adresse mail. En fait. Donc, si on résume, on a une table qui donne à chaque UPN un périmètre, et on a une fonction d'axe qui permet de savoir, quand l'utilisateur va se connecter, quel est son UPN. Du coup, vous avez compris l'idée. On va aller dans la table de modélisation, gérer les rôles. Donc, je vais me débarrasser de tous ces rôles-là. Je ne veux pas avoir à administrer autant de rôles que ça. Je vais juste créer un seul rôle. Je vais l'appeler dynamique. Et là, je vais juste appliquer un filtre d'axe sur ma table RLS. Et je vais lui dire... donc ça, il faut faire attention là, UPN c'est le nom de ma colonne, donc c'est la colonne qui fait partie de ma table RLS, égale, donc ça, soit là je peux directement taper ma fonction DAX, vous remarquez que j'ai pas l'IntelliSense, l'aide à la saisie, quand je tape le DAX, c'est pour ça qu'en principe, je préfère utiliser une mesure que j'ai déjà programmée entre guillemets dans le modèle sur la droite, bon là je ne l'ai pas fait. Donc vous voyez, je n'ai plus qu'un rôle qui va dire, en fait, quand l'utilisateur s'authentifie, moi je sais qui c'est, et donc j'ai juste besoin de filtrer dans la table ce à quoi il va avoir accès, et ça va propager tout seul. Alors, tout seul, en réalité, pas vraiment, on va regarder un petit peu après ce qui se passe sous le capot, mais disons que ça va propager son niveau d'accès qui est situé dans la table sur le reste du modèle. Donc ça, c'est au niveau du paramétrage du rôle. Si on regarde un petit peu plus en détail le modèle, c'est là que tout va se passer. Donc, j'ai cette table RLS qui est ici. Je vais récupérer l'UPN. Je le filtre. Du coup, je vais récupérer toutes les villes auxquelles a accès cet utilisateur. Et puis derrière, par la puissance du modèle de données, ici, je vais venir filtrer ma table géographique qui va elle-même filtrer la table de faits. Et du coup, quand mon utilisateur se connectera au report, qui avait à la base une vue globale, cet utilisateur ne verra que les villes qui font partie de cette table initiale. Alors vous remarquez, je ne vais pas empiéter sur la session de Peter parce que ça va être le thème de sa session, mais vous remarquez quelques petites choses ici. Je suis dans une relation many-to-many avec un filtre unidirectionnel. Pour tous ceux qui se posent des questions sur pourquoi j'ai fait ça, comment on le met en place, quels impacts ça peut avoir sur la sécurité et plus généralement le modèle, c'est Peter en fait qui va répondre à ces questions parce que c'est justement le but de sa session ce soir. D'accord ? Donc ça, c'est ce qui se passe au niveau du desktop. On va juste terminer la démo. Donc, je vais publier le report sur le cloud, sur Power BI Service. Je vais aller le publier par exemple dans mon espace de travail personnel. Il y a des questions jusqu'à présent ? Il faut que je meuble un petit peu là, le temps qu'il upload ça. C'est clair ? Qui connaissait cette méthode, juste par curiosité ? Ah ouais, quand même, on a des connaisseurs hein, ce soir. Hein. Une bonne moitié de la salle, ouais.
Quand tu as plusieurs axes, tu as des limites après pour filtrer justement.
Alors, je vais répéter la question.
Il y a le rôle dans l'entreprise, etc.
Alors, je vais répéter la question pour le live et puis pour l'audience de ce soir. La question c'est, en fait, dans la vraie vie, j'ai pas qu'une colonne comme critère d'axe. Je peux avoir du multi-axe, par exemple, certains pays et certains produits ou certains secteurs. Et bon, je ne pouvais pas traiter cette problématique ce soir parce qu'elle est un peu plus complexe. En fait, ce que ta question souligne derrière, c'est que... Alors, la réponse courte, c'est possible. Le challenge, c'est que ça va nécessiter d'avoir certaines compétences et une certaine expertise dans la manière dont tu vas interagir avec le modèle de données et éventuellement les mesures d'axe que tu vas vouloir passer dans le user principal name pour pouvoir prendre en compte le fait que tu es sur du multi-axe. Donc la réponse est techniquement c'est possible, mais évidemment c'est un peu plus compliqué que ce que je suis en train de vous montrer. Et d'ailleurs ça permet d'illustrer un point que je ne vous ai pas mentionné, donc tu fais bien de poser la question, c'est que vous voyez bien que cette méthode, elle passe par une parfaite compréhension du modèle de données. Et donc, comme d'habitude dans Power BI, si vous n'avez pas un bon modèle de données, vous ne pouvez pas gérer de manière puissante, robuste, la RLS, la Row Level Security. D'accord ? Et puis vous ne pourrez pas faire non plus plein d'autres choses. Mais en l'occurrence, sur la sécurité aussi, c'est justifié de prendre soin de son modèle de données et donc de faire très attention à ce que va vous dire Peter dans la suite de la soirée. En fait, là, mon rôle, c'est de chauffer la salle pour qu'après, vous vous disiez « Waouh, Peter, c'est incroyable ce qu'il est en train de nous raconter. » là. Très bien, donc là, j'ai publié le report. J'ai presque terminé la démo. Donc le report, il est sur mon espace Power BI Cloud. Là, je suis authentifié avec mon compte. On va aller chercher RLS. Donc moi, je suis owner du report, du jeu de données, donc je vois tout, forcément. D'accord ? Là, je vois l'ensemble du périmètre. Par contre, je vais partager le report à un utilisateur dans mon entreprise. Guillaume Debailly, utilisateur de mon entreprise qui dispose d'une licence Power BI Pro. Alors, il y en a certains qui rigolent parce que c'est un personnage d'une série assez connue sur Canal+, que je vous recommande très fortement, qui s'appelle Le Bureau des légendes. Bref. Donc, j'ai envoyé le report à Guillaume Debailly, un utilisateur Power BI Pro dans mon entreprise. La démo que je suis en train de faire marche aussi si votre utilisateur n'est pas dans l'entreprise, avec un processus de Azure B2B Guest. Je ne rentre pas plus dans le détail, mais gardez en tête que ce que je vous montre marche aussi avec du partage externe. Avant que Guillaume puisse consulter le report sur son périmètre, il faut que je fasse un petit truc qu'on oublie à peu près 3 fois sur 4, et que j'allais oublier, en fait, pour être honnête avec vous, au moment de faire la démo, c'est qu'au niveau du jeu de données, certes, j'ai créé la table et Guillaume en fait bien partie. Par contre, j'ai un petit paramètre à aller gérer au niveau de la sécurité du jeu de données. En fait, il faut que je rattache mon ou mes users à ce rôle. Et vous voyez ici, c'est là que ça devient plus simple à administrer, puisque, en fait, je n'ai qu'un rôle à gérer. Et là, potentiellement, on peut faire un truc qui n'est pas forcément recommandé, mais qui simplifie vraiment la gestion. Bon, là, Jean-Pierre risque de me crier dessus, mais je m'en fous parce que c'est plus mon manager maintenant. C'est que, en fait, ici, potentiellement, vous pourriez mettre toute la boîte. Vous pourriez avoir un groupe de sécurité ou une espèce de liste de diffusion où vous avez 3000 personnes. Pourquoi ? Parce qu'en fait, bon, déjà, tant qu'ils n'ont pas accès au rapport, bah, ils ne voient rien. Et quand bien même ils ont accès au rapport par accident, parce que le nombre de clients qui partagent des applications à toute la boîte, hein, il y en a une palanquée. Mais quand bien même ils ont accès au report, tant qu'ils ne font pas partie de la table de sécurité que je vous ai montré, bah, en fait, ils ne voient rien. Donc, le risque, il est mineur. Hein. Bon, Jean-Pierre, je ne sais pas si tu approuves. Bon, ok. Donc là, je vais rajouter Guillaume. Ici, je peux mettre des groupes de sécurité Azure Active Directory pour me faciliter un peu la gestion, hein, pour ne pas avoir à rentrer les utilisateurs un à un. Donc là, j'ai rattaché Guillaume au groupe. Je vais me connecter en tant que Guillaume. Donc là, je switch de user. Je ne suis plus Tristan, je suis Guillaume. Je vais me connecter au report qui m'a été partagé par Tristan. Et là, c'est là où je croise les doigts. Ok, on va... Est-ce qu'il y a un truc que j'ai mal fait? Bon. Attendez, je vais juste regarder si je suis connecté au bon report. Bon, bah voilà, ça s'appelle l'effet démo.
Il fallait mettre toute l'entreprise, je pense.
Alors, qu'est-ce que j'ai oublié? Est-ce qu'il fait bien partie de la table? On va aller voir ça. C'est toujours pareil, on le teste. Oui, il fait bien partie. Alors, je me demande si c'est pas un problème de cache. Attendez, je vais juste ouvrir le truc. Ah non. Ça, c'est le petit piège de Power BI Service. Petit problème du X. En fait, il y a un petit bouton enregistrer, mais il faut descendre la souris. Je ne l'avais pas vu. Donc en fait, il n'avait pas été ajouté, Guillaume. Donc là, ça devrait marcher. Voilà, c'est les petits soucis du live. Il est où? Il est là. Donc, partagez avec moi. RLS. Et là, normalement, magie. Il n'y a pas de raison que ça ne marche plus. Voilà. Donc là, vous voyez en haut à droite, c'est l'UPN de Guillaume au moment où il se connecte sur le compte. Donc malotru@data-pulse.fr. Dans ma table de sécurité, je lui avais dit qu'il avait le droit de voir que Hong Kong ou Londres. Et c'est bien le cas. Je lui ai aussi donné accès au jeu de données sous-jacent pour qu'il puisse se construire ses propres reports, soit dans Excel, soit dans Power BI Desktop, soit si le jeu de données est hébergé dans un workspace Power BI Premium avec Tableau, ClickView, ClickSense, tous les outils de BI concurrents de Power BI. Et donc à chaque fois, quand il s'authentifie, Guillaume, il voit que ce à quoi je lui ai donné accès dans la fameuse table de sécurité. Ok? Le dernier petit truc que je voulais vous montrer, après j'ai terminé, c'est que, vous l'avez compris, cette méthode elle est assez intéressante parce qu'on n'a qu'un rôle à gérer et une table. La question que vous êtes peut-être en train de vous poser, c'est ok, mais comment je gère, comment j'administre, comment j'alimente cette table? Alors, pour moi, c'est un très bon cas d'usage de Power Apps en fait. Je ne sais pas si vous connaissez Power Apps. En fait, il se trouve que ma table de sécurité, j'ai décidé de la gérer dans une liste SharePoint où j'ai des administrateurs de l'application Power BI qui vont un petit peu gérer ce qui se passe dans ce workspace. Et vraiment, ça m'a pris, allez, un quart d'heure à vous monter la démo. Vous voyez ici, il y a un petit bouton Power Apps. En fait, j'ai créé une application Power Apps à partir de cette table. D'accord? Elle est ici. Et cette application Power Apps, en fait, elle me permet de gérer la table sous-jacente qui est dans le SharePoint. Donc, vous voyez, là, j'ai mes users. Je peux rajouter un user ici. Donc, blablabla. Bon, là, il faudrait mettre un vrai. Alors, évidemment, là, je vous ai fait quelque chose de très simplifié. Hein. Il faudrait mettre des listes déroulantes. Il faudrait mettre des choses un peu plus sympas. Là, je vous montre juste le principe. Et puis, en fait, ce Power Apps, il alimente directement ma liste. Vous voyez, hop, c'est apparu. La beauté du cloud. Et derrière, cette table RLS, en fait, j'ai plus qu'à la rafraîchir dans Power BI. Hein. Cette table-là, c'est celle qui est justement connectée à la liste dynamiquement alimentée par le Power Apps. Voilà. Là, ça serait inexploitable, mais vous avez compris l'idée. Donc voilà, ça vous donne des idées un petit peu de comment vous pouvez faire interagir vos applications Office 365 et notamment la Power Platform. Derrière, il y a plein de choses à faire pour le workflow. Par exemple, un utilisateur demande l'accès, donc on met en place un workflow d'approbation avec du Power Automate et on a un Power Apps derrière qui gère la liste. Enfin, voilà, je vous laisse vous projeter dans ce que vous pourriez faire dans vos entreprises respectives. C'est tout ce que j'avais à vous montrer sur cette partie-là. Si je résume, un rôle, une table. Et donc, la seule préoccupation que vous devez avoir, c'est est-ce que j'ai quelqu'un dans mon entreprise qui est suffisamment bon ou intelligent en modélisation pour savoir comment intégrer cette table dans un modèle que j'ai déjà construit? Et parfois, je vous avoue qu'il peut y avoir certains challenges techniques, notamment quand on a plusieurs axes, comme la question qui a été posée. Et deux, une fois que j'ai géré cette partie technique de modélisation, qui ou comment je vais alimenter et gérer cette fameuse table demain en prod pour mon application Power BI. Voilà.
On a en tête un meetup un peu plus détaillé sur des patterns un peu plus compliqués, du multiniveau, du multi-axe en effet, parce que c'est pas si simple que ça, des rôles admin, des choses comme ça. Donc on a ça en tête dans les prochains meetups. On n'a pas de date, hein, mais on y réfléchit.
C'est dans les tuyaux.
C'est dans les tuyaux.
Alors, avant que je laisse la parole à Peter pour la session du soir, est-ce que vous avez des questions sur cette partie-là? Aucune question. Bon, du coup, c'est très clair.
T'es sûr que t'as chauffé la salle?
Très bien. Alors, je vais tout de suite fermer ça et puis je vais laisser la parole à Peter. Alors, une petite chose qu'on veut vous préciser avant que Peter prenne la parole. Donc, la session sera en anglais. Vous pouvez poser des questions pendant la session en français, si vous n'êtes pas à l'aise en anglais, et on s'occupera de les traduire. La session est prévue pour à peu près 1h15, 1h30, et le thème sera la modélisation. Donc je vais fermer ça, et je vais ouvrir ceci, et ceci, voilà, tout est prêt.
No PowerPoint slide.
Ah, sorry, yeah.
That's it. Okay, merci. Bonsoir. Hello, good evening. Tonight is Power BI and English lesson at the same time. So thank you for having me here in Paris. Tonight's presentation is on data modeling relationships. In English, I would say the do's and the do-nots. It's about the theory of relationships, everything you can do with them, and the guidance on what we want you to do to produce good quality solutions. So welcome. My name, did you introduce me?
More or less.
Oh, okay, so I don't need to talk about this slide here, right? I come all the way from Melbourne, Australia. I've been an MVP like Tristan for 13 years. But I would like to start by knowing a little bit more about you. Could you please, using your phone, use the QR code or use the URL and answer some questions. This is a real-time Power BI dashboard, and then I understand who you are as a group. I give you 1 minute. Have you presented real time in your user group? No. Ah, excellent topic.
We had a demo that was a few years ago, and you're right, it's a good topic.
Okay, thank you. We have one submission. It's you. You're very quick. Okay, a quick head count. Well, we have maybe 40 people here.
Yes.
Okay, I want to see 20 here, minimum. 20. Excellent, excellent. For anybody that is watching this as a recording, no, this real-time dashboard will not work for you. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay, so the results are coming in. Thank you. I'm not interested in gender or age. Maybe if I had more time, this data is interesting, but I'm interested in your role. What do you do with Power BI? Okay, so as a modeling topic, relationships. Yes, it is the BI developer and the business analyst that I am talking to. Students and data stewards, no data wizards here tonight. The main focus is on you in Power BI Desktop creating a model. So I'm happy to see that the majority of people are BI developers. The next one is your experience. Okay, so welcome to 3 people that have 0 experience with Power BI. So maybe your first time here at the Power BI user group. This is great. I'm just going to warn you, you are welcome to be here, but the topic gets quite advanced, okay? And I would suggest you stay and you absorb what you can, all right? So for people very new to Power BI, this is an advanced topic. Who is the number 10?
It's me.
Because I'm happy to sit down and you can come up and you can give the presentation.
Yes, and it will be in French.
Now, I have a question. What is the average rating here? Is it 5? Is it 4?
4 points.
You know, the question is an okay question, but the dashboard and the visual has not been designed to answer that question, okay? So that's another topic, but I do like to remind people of the awesome capability of Q&A. All right, so if I want the answer to that question, I just say, keyboard?
Sorry.
Ah!
I forgot to switch in English, sorry Peter.
So I just ask the question, average, actually maybe, no, because Q&A only works in English or
Yes.
Spanish, right?
Yes.
So average, and then I just ask the question. And then I see that the real answer is in fact 4.12. Okay, and because this is a question that I want to ask again and again and again, I will add this to my dashboard. Okay, so I remind my customers we want good quality data, we want good quality reporting and visualization, because what we do not want is people guessing or estimating. It's too dangerous and it's just too costly to the business. So there we go. We can see that the average is now 4.12. Okay, thank you and welcome. That gives me a start to tonight's topic. We are here to talk about Power BI relationships. This is such an important topic. And I have worked with SQL Server analysis services for now over 20 years. The product is 21 years old now. And so I'm a modeling expert, and I see lots of examples of bad models. And often, bad models are because of a lack of education. So tonight, I'm here to help you learn about good model relationships. So let's start with bad example. I'm going to open up Power BI Desktop, which is sitting here somewhere. Where is Power BI Desktop? Here.
Here, yeah.
Got it. Okay, so let's start with a bad example of modeling. And what I have is this. I'm waiting for Power BI Desktop to open. Did I click it?
I don't know.
I thought I clicked it. Click again.
It's because of the analysis services engine.
Well, it's still not opening.
It should.
Okay, here
It's
we
a bit
go.
slow because we are streaming live, so on YouTube.
No problem, so long as it opens. If it doesn't open, no demo. All right, so let me begin with my bad modeling example. Okay. So first of all, I save this and the data is here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit slow.
It's very slow. It comes from a sale extract. So let me load this data. Let's discuss why I think this is a bad model. My apologies, the fields are in English. It's very slow. So first, take a look at the field pane here. How many tables in the model? 1, okay. And we see product and first name, last name, category, subcategory, mix many things, many different types of things. And in fact, looking at the model diagram, it is a single table model. Now, I see many examples of this. Because my source data is one file, my model will have one table. You can do this, but it's not easy for users. As volumes of data grow, it is inefficient in its storage. And when you write calculations in DAX, they become much more complicated if you have a single table with many columns. Okay, so I begin with this as a bad example. Of course, there are no relationships in this model because we have single table. That is where this demonstration finishes. And that is the end of my bad modeling, because we're here to talk about what relationships are and how to do good modeling. In definition, model relationships propagate filters. A filter on this table will propagate to other tables. Let's see by example. Very simple model. I have a sales table with a product key, a year, and a quantity. And I have a second table in the model. What is the product? 1, 2, or 3. And we see a relationship between the tables, noticing that it is a one-to-many relationship. We talk about this in good detail shortly. Now, we ask a question. What is the quantity for product B? Filter the product table, propagate the filter to sales, and we add 10, 5, and 2, and the result is 17. The example of filter propagation, filter on product, propagates to sale. Now, what would happen if we have more than 2 tables? And this time the question is, what are the sale quantities for category A? Filter category A, propagate to product, propagate to sales. The answer this time, 14. One more example. Year comes in as well. So the question this time is, but what were the quantity for category A? In calendar year 2018, watch the colors. And we see the intersection of those propagations is only one sale row for category A in that year. This is the pattern of what modeling does. Tables with filters propagate to other tables. Now, a good model should strive, it should want to have a good number of tables. But this is a difficult conversation. What is a good number of tables? It depends on many things. And I will tell people that modeling is sometimes science and sometimes art. And often somewhere in the middle, you'll find the most optimal model for your reports. Okay? There is never one way to do something. All right? So, I want to introduce the topic of star schema. Who here knows what star schema means? Hands up. So I'm going to guess that that's half of the room. Star schema is a modeling design or data modeling design approach that is and was developed for relational data warehouses. Okay, but much of star schema is relevant to good Power BI modeling. And I'll talk about many star schema designs today. I want to make it clear, in Power BI, relationships do not care about data quality. Okay? If you see a diagram for a relational database, you see tables and you see lines. What do the lines represent? Foreign keys. Okay, in a relational database, looking at the diagram, the lines of foreign keys, they are protecting the integrity of your data. We cannot sell a product if it does not exist in the product table. Some people think relationships in a model are protecting the quality. Power BI does not care about the quality. That is you that must care about the quality that you load. The lines that we see in the Power BI desktop modeled view are relationships for filtering, not for foreign keys. All right, here's our star schema. Why is it star schema? Okay, the center of the star is what we call a fact table. It stores your business activity, sales orders. Fact tables grow to become very large over time with your history. The points of the star are your things, your business entities, products, customers, date itself. And so this is a very mature and very successful modeling approach. We have tables that describe our things, and we have tables that store activity. So, dimension tables are there to filter and group. You see, in Power BI, every visual on a report, there are three things that happen: filtering, grouping, and summarization. Let's filter by calendar year 2019. Let's group by the months, and let's sum the sales within the months. This is, every visual you do follows this pattern. So what we call dimension tables around here, these are for filtering and grouping. The fact tables in the center of the star are for the summarization of your data. All right? I will not read all of these details, but I will tell you, you can download this presentation at the end, and there will be a QR code you can use. This slide also talks about dimension and fact tables. For now, dimension tables are for filtering and grouping, and fact tables are for summarization. So now let's talk about Power BI. We understand that our models contain tables, yes? And the bad example had one table. A good model usually has many tables. Now, the properties of a table are very simple. As the Power BI desktop user, you control the name. The name must be unique, and I hope the name is friendly. There's a storage mode property also. Does Power BI import data into the table, or is the data stays in the system, and when we query the model, we use DirectQuery to get to the data? Or is it both at the same time? There are three options for storage. We will talk about this by the end of this presentation. And what about this property, the table role? Is the table a dimension or a fact? Is there such a property in Power BI where you say that this table is a dimension table or this table is a fact table? No, there's actually no such property that you use to tell Power BI what type of table it is. Let's come back to this. Introducing relationships now in the model. This is the definition. A relationship is created from one table and one column to one column in a different table. That is how filters will propagate from this table to this table. Okay, very clear. A relationship is one column in a table to one column in a different table. It is not possible to relate to the same table. Foreign keys can do this, but relationships in models must be to a different table. The properties, and we talk about this a lot, cardinality. Is it one to many? Is it many to one? Is it one to one? Or is it many to many? There are four possibilities. Now this reminds me, I asked you a question. And the question was, what was the question? What is this? No, I don't want to do that. Come to my reports, come to the survey. I asked you what was the most important topic for you tonight. And what do we see? Many-to-many relationships are the most important. Okay, no surprise being in France that I see that romantic relationships come next. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I won't be talking much about those. We have one to many and we have many to one. Okay, let me tell you that they are the same topic, okay? One to many or many to one, exactly the same, just different direction. Strong relationships and weak relationships. Well, someone wants to know about weak relationships. These are important topics and I will talk about them tonight. But it is no surprise, all right, that many to many is the most interesting topic. So the relationship has a cardinality property. One to many to one to one, or many to many. It also has filter direction. The filters go from this table to this table. Can they also go back? Can they be both at the same time? If we're using row-level security, will the relationship also use both directions for filtering? Is the relationship active or not active? And will it assume referential integrity? This applies to direct query models only. Okay, and I will talk about this later. For completeness, these are all of the properties of the relationship that you create and that you configure. Last piece of information. Between two tables, there can be multiple relationships, but only one can be active. We cannot have multiple active paths between tables. The filters must propagate in a way that is deterministic. Does that translate? Deterministic. It must be known. There cannot be ambiguity for filter propagation. All right. Lots of theory, I promise. I'm going to switch to demo after the theory, but we must have the theory first. All right? Now, the cardinality is what determines whether your table is a fact table or dimension table. Let's see. Here's our star schema. The pattern is this. The relationships to those dimension tables are many to one. That means the dimension tables like product and date and customer must have a column of unique values. This is the one side of the relationship. And the fact table is the many side. Think about it. We have a product table. We define each product once with a unique key value. And I hope your business is successful, because in the sales table, I want to see multiples of those products, that we sell the same product many times. All right, so this is the pattern. When you see a table in your model which has the many, it is a fact type table. And on the other side is what we call a dimension type table. Are there any questions at this stage?
I'm going to check online.
How is the English and the pace of delivery? Is it good for you to understand? Okay.
So let me just check online, but I think it's okay. You can
Okay.
go ahead.
Did someone say it's too slow? Do you want me to speed up a bit?
Attends, il y a une question là-bas.
Yeah, just one question. You talk about like sales order being a fact table. How do you identify that, since sales table will also have a unique sales ID and so on?
So how do we know, using sales as an example is the question, how do we know that sales is a fact type table? So there's several ways we could come to that understanding. The way I teach it in Power BI is, are we using that table to filter or to group? And usually not. We are summarizing the rows of data. We sum the sales together. We count the rows. We maybe do the average of the price. When you're doing summarization over the table, that is a strong indication that it is a fact type table. Now, I'm keeping things simple, but sometimes tables can be both dimension and fact. But more often, it is either one or the other. Okay? Sales is a classic example of a fact table. All right? The other thing to know about fact tables is that their volumes increase over time as you continue to store more and more history. All right? Dimension tables are relatively static and smaller in size. Not always, but often. Any other questions?
Je vais la poser en français parce que je sais plus faire.
gonna
Dans
translate.
les cas réels sont un petit peu plus complexes. Typiquement, on va avoir une table des commandes, une table des livraisons et une table des facturations. Order, invoicing. Donc, 3 tables de fait. Mais dans chaque table, est-ce qu'il va falloir répéter l'identifiant du client, l'identifiant du produit, alors que les choses sont
Dans 3 tables séparées.
3 tables séparées.
So,
Sachant que on pourra avoir les factures sans commande ni livraison. Et c'est là où
I'm gonna try to translate. So the question is, in real life, it could be a bit more complex than what you are describing right now, because in his situation, you might have 3 fact tables in the same data model, one for orders, one for invoices, and one for delivery and one for invoices. And the general question is, how do you cope with more than one fact table in the same model, especially when you have rows which might appear in one fact table and not the other fact table?
relation between order and delivery.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you link this?
So I'm glad you asked the question because, to be clear, your model can have multiple stars, multiple fact tables. Now, your example is that I have a sales table and then I have the delivery. There's a one-to-many. One sales order could be delivered in multiple shipments, correct? So your fact tables could relate directly, or they could relate via the dimensions themselves. Okay? You can do it either way. All right? But if there's a strong relationship between a row in this table and the deliveries, then you could create a relationship providing you have a single column. Okay? This is possible. Okay, so think about it. If I filter by an order, I want the filter to propagate to tell me the records for the delivery of that order. No problem. Okay, so you imagine multiple stars in the model, and you can have relationships between fact tables themselves. Okay? You could solve the problem maybe not with that. You could have a separate table that is the sales order table, and the sales order table is a dimension, and it has one-to-many to the sale table and the delivery table. You could do it either way, and there's no right way. Art, science. There's a blend, and you could choose one way and maybe test it. You could choose the other way and test it. Look at the volume of data. If your data is excessively large, you want to be very careful because one of them might be more optimal than the other. I can't tell you which one it would be, but you have flexibility in your design. Okay? What matters is that you test the filter propagation and it works. If you have large volumes of data, you test the size of it. This version 1, version 2, which one is better? Does that help? Okay, one more question, and then I will move to the next theory and then demos.
A dimension can be a fact.
Can a dimension be a fact?
Like you make a relation between 2 facts and into one, and after you have dimensions.
I don't fully understand your question. Let's start again.
You change, for example, the dimension in fact.
You make this dimension table here, for example, a fact.
And after you create another star, and
So it probably isn't possible. Like a dimension has a unique column for each product, for example. And a fact is the accumulation of activity that might repeat the product, selling the product multiple times. So you would probably find that you might have another fact table and this dimension filters both, which I think is the example here. We have the sales and we have the delivery of our sales. 2 fact tables. All right, let's move into some final theory. Strong versus weak relationships. Okay, so this matters for 2 reasons. First of all, it is not a property that you can figure. It is based on circumstance, whether the relationship is strong or whether it is weak. Let's talk about strong relationships. A strong relationship is when Power BI knows that there is a one side in the relationship. Okay? Super important for filter propagation. If you don't have a one side in your dimension table and you have duplicate product keys and you filter propagate, does anyone know what happens? If I have two products with the same key and I'm relating it to the sales, what's going to happen?
The sales will double the
Yeah, double, triple. It will multiply like a Cartesian join. Okay, so it's super important for filter propagation that there's a one side in most circumstances. So when there is a one side, Power BI understands the relationship is strong. This happens for all one-to-many, many-to-one, and one-to-one relationships. Remember, there are 4 cardinality types. The many-to-many is not strong. We'll come to this later. Now, let's take a look at these 3 tables, because you need to understand what happens with strong relationships. Category, one-to-many, product, one-to-many, sales. If you filter on category and sales in the same visual, okay, so you have fields in the one visual. Let's just say we have a pie chart, we group by category, and we show the quantity. Internally, Power BI does this. It expands the relationships into a virtual table. Okay? It will do this for strong relationships, which is why, look at this. We have sold a product 9. Does the product table have product 9? No. This is an example where we sold a product that the product table does not store. Look what the expanded table does. Okay? Because it's a strong relationship, it uses blank. In English blank, but I saw it's read.
Yes.
Okay. So, do you ever see this, that you look at the slicer on the page and say, why is there a blank in the slicer? Because in my data there is no blank. What is happening is there's a data integrity issue, that a value on the many side does not have the value on the one side. This is a problem. Your data is not clean. But it's okay, because the blank allows you to filter by it, and you can say, tell me the sales for products that I do not have stored. This will happen in strong relationships. You are protected. Power BI will compensate for you. But this is not the case with weak relationships. There is no table expansion for weak relationships. And weak relationships happen in 2 different situations. That the relationship cardinality is many to many. There is no one side. It is weak. And we have the concept of composite modeling that we talked about tonight with the new feature of composite modeling with Power BI data sets. So let's look at an example of what this means. You see, here's an example of a composite model. On the left, we have Vertipack data. This is imported into the model. And on the right, some tables are stored in DirectQuery. First of all, is this relationship that I'm pointing at on the left corner. Now, I need to do it for people that are watching. This relationship that I'm pointing to here, is that strong or weak? It's strong because it's one to many inside the same data store. And what about the one to many here in DirectQuery? It's still strong. It's a one to many inside the same data store. Okay, so yes. But here we see a many to many relationship. It is never strong, it is weak. And here we see a one to many relationship, but it is across stores of data. In this situation, it's weak. So the 2 situations for weak relationships, many to many, or any relationship that is spanning across different stores of data. This will only happen in composite models. All right, and that's where we see 2 weak relationships. What that will mean is, if your sale table has product 9 and your product table on a weak relationship does not have it, it is eliminated. It's like it does not exist in the sale table. So you must be very careful with weak relationships that you have good quality data. No blanks in slices for weak relationships. All right, almost finished the theory. When it comes to relationships, there are some functions in DAX that work with relationships, like related, related table, use relationship, cross filter, treat as, and path. I'm going to demo most of them. All right, for completeness, these are functions that work with model relationships. Are we ready for good modeling? Any questions before I launch into what is a reinforcement of all of that theory with data and discussion? Any questions?
No
Nope.
questions online? Yes, the back.
I have a question about the relation between fact table and dimension table.
Yes.
The relation has to go only from fact table to dimension or to dimension from fact, like many to one or...
The common pattern is this. Let me bring that slide back. So the question was about the relationship and filtered direction between dimensions and facts. It is always from the one side to the many side. The filters that we apply on a dimension table will propagate to the fact table. Always. Okay, and optionally, we could push the filter back to the dimension table. I will discuss. Okay, so good, thank you for asking the question. Always, filter propagation is from the one side to the many side. Always. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question for when you cross from one database to another, why the relationship becomes weak?
Because Power BI cannot guarantee there is a one side. So that's the answer to the question. Why is this relationship here weak? They are different data stores and Power BI cannot, let's just say it cannot efficiently do it at query time. Okay, so for that reason, it's weak. All right, let's get into some good demos. Okay, what I'm going to do is switch back to Power BI Desktop. It is create a new solution. And while I'm creating it, let's take a look at the data that I'm going to demo from. The data is deliberately very simple. I'm going to create a sales model. And the sales data looks like this. You need a new laptop.
No, but the thing is, it's very slow because of the OBS, the stream.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
No problem. All right, so let's take a look at the sale data for my demo tonight. Very, very simple data. Let's understand that we have 3 sales orders. We have an order date. We have the shipment date that was related to your question. SKU in English means stock keeping unit. It is a unique identifier for a product. Now, the manager first name and last name. This is the person responsible for the sale. And then we see the quantity and the price of the sale. Okay, very, very simple data. So what I'm going to do in a new Power BI desktop file, first of all, number one is to go ahead and save this as demo good. What's number 2 step? Before I do anything else, what should I do? Make sure your data load options for your model meet the requirements of your project. All right, so right down here, right down here, we've got the ability to configure how the import model will be created. Now, specifically for relationships, it's here. There are 3 options that you can turn on or off that control relationship creation and management. Now, I don't suggest you change these. You can if you like, but tonight I'm going to turn them off because I want to create the relationships manually. It's not interesting when it happens automatically. Click OK, and now I'm ready to import my sales data from Excel. All right, so that same sales data is here.
It's because it's on OneDrive, so you need to close the file.
And I need it open for the demo.
Ah.
Sorry, we have to save this locally.
Do you want to change the... Do you want to put it on the desktop? Or?
Put it anywhere. Can you just put it anywhere? Because I'll need to make modifications and
Yes.
reload from it. I'm using Tristan's laptop tonight because of the streaming, which is multiple challenges because it's Power BI Desktop in French. It's a French keyboard, although it's set for English US. And also, we use decimal points and you use commas. So you'll just have to bear with me tonight. And the next thing is we've found that he uses OneDrive and I use local files.
Sorry for that. So currently it's saved locally now.
Okay.
It's saved on my...
So let's go ahead and...
Turn off the automatic save.
Non, mais c'est bon là. Parce que du coup je suis sur le bureau là.
Okay.
So if you go
And,
up. Yeah, the first one, desktop. It should be here, yeah.
got it. And did you copy a link or did you actually physically
No,
copy
no,
the
I
file?
stored it physically, but...
Try to turn off the automatic saving of, in Excel. Maybe it's...
Ah, okay, it's an Excel setting.
Yes.
And then, hold on. So this is the other one though.
No, it should be saved locally now, this one. Let me check something. Sorry.
Not working.
Ah. Okay, let's just...
Can I not just do a save as, and we'll just save it today?
Yeah, but the problem is...
See, it's synchronizing, so it can't be.
Pourtant, je suis bien en local là. Je suis bien en local là, non? Okay, I know what we're going to do. Put it on the key. Do you need this one again or?
No, I can live without it.
Okay. Tu peux m'aider, JP, parce que mon plâtre, c'est pas facile.
Sur la clé.
Mm.
J'ai l'impression que ton bureau est synchronisé. Il a raison, tu vois.
Copied.
Okay, so, yep, got it. All right, so now that's just sitting on D drive. All right, so I need to open this up again. Apologies for that. We will get there. So, what was I doing? I was in my good demo and I was connecting to Excel, this time on D drive. Assets, sale, bingo. All right.
That's
And
actually a bug. I don't know why you can't open at the same time having an Excel file on OneDrive. It wasn't like this in the past, I guess.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know why I would have a problem with it, because local files, it doesn't have a problem. But here we go. All of that sales data becomes our first query in Power BI. So let me quickly go ahead and create a query. There's only one change that I will make to the data, and that is that I'm going to multiply the quantity and the price to create a new column. All right, so we see here that we've got quantity, and I'm going to, okay. this, and that becomes the sale amount. Okay, yeah. So I have to type blind because the keyboard is confusing. Okay, there we go. There is the sale. But wait, there is so much more data to make this demonstration more interesting. So here I'm going to bring in some data coming from CSV, that the products themselves are stored in a CSV file. Let's take a look at those products. Remember, the unique identifier for a product was the SKU. There it is. And this is a very simple set of data, so there are only 4 products. The first row is in fact the column names, but we have coffee, we have tea, popcorn, and cookies. Notice that the products belong to a subcategory, and yet we have another source of data that describes those subcategories to give me the categories. Have a look. So beverages or cold beverages belongs to the category beverages, and snacks and meals are food. All right, so now I have 3 queries: sale, product, subcategory, but wait, there is more. The price of the product is stored in a different file. Each product has its price. It's not stored in the sales data. It's not stored in the product data. It's stored in a file that the marketing people update. All right, so each product has a price. Next, and for now just the last query, is that the managers responsible for the sale. They come from a different source of data. All right, so the first row is in fact the column names. So one transformation. Now, I want you to take close attention to this data. Our managers have a first name, a last name, an email address, and subcategory. What is happening here? Look at the data. The first salesperson has hot beverages, but the second salesperson has 2, hot beverages and snacks. So I will tell you what this means. Managers mean 2 things. Managers are responsible for each sale, but also for performance. They are measured by the sales of 1 or more subcategories of products. Okay, so the first salesperson is measured by the sales of hot beverages. The second manager is measured by 2 subcategories, hot beverages and snacks. Now, I recognize that that is not a good idea in a dimension table. They're actually 2 different dimensions, manager and product. So I'm going to rename the query as raw manager, because it's the raw data. It is not what I want in my model. And then I create a new query that will become my manager query. And I simply remove the subcategory. That is the manager dimension table for my model. What am I going to do with this query? No. This raw manager should not be loaded to the model. It's the raw data, so I disable. In English, we say disable the loading of this data. All right, so I do not want that to become a table in my model. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 queries that are enabled to load to the model. So let's do it. I come back to Power BI Desktop, and then I go ahead and import the data for those 5 queries. Remember, I disabled automatic relationships. Awesome. So here we see it. I'm going to collapse these. We've got our sale table. I've got product and list price. I've got manager. And over here, I have the subcategory. So in my diagrams, I like to make it sort of like a star. Can you see the star? You know, if we did something like, the zoom it's not, so the zoom at 2 for me is just drawing. What is it for you?
It should be 1 or...
It's not 1.
oh, try this one.
Okay, so do you see the star? It's like this, this, this. Not the most beautiful star. Now, there is a table missing from this model that every model should have. What is it? Date. Okay. So let's just quickly go ahead and build a date table. So here I'm going to create a date table using a special DAX function. What is that function? I'm going to use calendar auto that says automatically generate a table of rows based on the dates that have been loaded into the model. Okay, so I remind you that if we look at the data, there are 2 columns that have, what is this asking?
Say that now.
So there are 2 date columns. So it has automatically generated a table for me, although it's not a very interesting table. If we take a look at the table, we will see that it consists of just one single column. Because I know that I need to filter or group by year or month, I must add these columns. That's easy. I'm going to add in the year column. Year equals, and now wherever my double quote is, there it is, CY, and and go and give me whatever the year value of the date column is. That DAX gives me, and CY in English is calendar year. Okay, and then I'll just do it for month as well. This one's easier. We have a format function in DAX, which is very, very helpful. So month equals format my date as, so what is it, semicolon?
Yes.
Where's my double quote? So y hyphen m Done. All right. There's one last thing I should do for my date table. What is it? Yeah. Declare to Power BI that this table specifically stores dates. And very relevant for us tonight, when you choose this column, it knows it's a one-side. It must contain unique values, right? And there's more special rules. There cannot be gaps. And it must contain complete years of data. That ensures that your time intelligence functions in DAX will work properly. But that's interesting to note. Power BI understands internally that that is a unique column suitable as a one-side of a relationship. So now I have my new table. I come back to my designer here and I'm going to zoom down, and now my date table sits down here. All right, ready to test the model. Let's come to a report. And what I'm going to do is create a table that shows me month and sales amount. And let me zoom that up so we can see much more clearly what it's doing.
Yes, it's going to be great.
What does it mean when we see a result that looks like this?
No relationship.
Okay, no relationship. Is it possible that we could have that table 6.4, 6.4, 6.4, total 6.4. Is that possible? Does anyone say yes, it is possible? Because I say yes, it's possible.
It could be a measure that gets the total of the sales.
Yes, but what would the total be? You're good.
Average per month.
If it was average or min or max, that is possible. But if our measure was using sum, then something is wrong, because the total would be the sum of everything above. Now, when you see this, it is because there is no filter propagation. We have the month and we have the sales amount, different tables. There is no relationship, so no filter propagation. We are seeing the total sale amount for every month. Therefore, we come in and we manage relationships. And I'm going to manually create the relationship here. We know that the relationship is from the date table to the sales table. We know the relationship must be one column to one column. That is date, in this case, to order date. That's a bug. Because if I do it the other way around and I say, let's do sale to date, it works. That is a bug, by the way. Anyway, let's go ahead and just make sure it's a single direction filter. I'll talk about this later. We see the relationship is active, and yet it's telling me, sorry, which one is, that's both directions, that's one direction. Why is there an error?
This is one-to-one cardinality.
Because it's a one-to-one. Yeah.
One-to-one cardinality.
Yes, but do we have, but we don't have duplicates here.
No, it's a one-to-one.
But why, what's it complaining? That the filter direction is the problem here.
Yes, because one-to-one cannot be
Ah.
unidirectional.
Thank you. Let's just say okay for now. Let me conclude that and then have a look at the result in our visual. Is that now the correct result? We now have evidence that filters are correctly propagating. I just demonstrated to you then how you can create a relationship in that window. But I prefer this. Use in the diagram, drag and drop. Subcategory relates to subcategory, right? And then we know that SKU relates to SKU. I know that SKU relates to SKU here as well. And now I come to create the relationship between manager and sale. And I have a problem. What is that problem?
What's the subcategory?
Nothing to do with subcategory.
You have two columns.
Manager first name, manager last name. Relationships cannot be multi-column. So that forces me to come back to my query editor. Yeah, what am I going to do? How am I going to create a unique column to become the one side in this query? You know, I could do this. Let's go ahead and where is merge columns? Add a column that is text. Where's merge? I can't see it. So I do this and I select this. This one, thank you. Is this a good candidate for a one side of my relationship? I have to go blind to sort of know where that key is. Alright, got it. Is this a good candidate for my unique column? The problem with this is, I know in English the most common name for a man is John Smith. In French, what is the common male name? Francois.
Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre something. Okay, so the danger of doing this is that in future you might have, by coincidence, you might have natural coincidences. So this is where in star schema design we call it a surrogate key. We create a unique key that comes from nowhere. It's just auto-generated. So I'm going to create what we call an index column, and I'm going to call this my manager key. All right? Its data type should be whole number. And I will put it to the front. And now I have my one side for a relationship. But what does that mean for the sale query? The sale query has manager first name and manager last name. So it's going to require me then to come in and merge those columns together. So I'm going to merge the query that is my manager. I'm pressing the control key, manager first name, manager last name, first name, last name. Take a look up here that the order does matter because it's going to merge on multiple columns. Some people get very confused. They think this is a model relationship. This is a query merging before the data is loaded into the model. Okay? So now that I've merged them, I can then introduce the manager key, and now I have the one column on both sides. So sometimes your data does not give you a single unique column. You have to make it up. So I'm going to drag this over here. I do not need these columns, so I can remove them. Now, back in my model, watch this as I apply changes. Awesome. Drag, drop, there is the relationship that I needed. One to many. Okay, let me save everything. Having created the relationships, let's take a closer look. All right, what if I come to my sale data and I add in a new order? What is this telling me?
What do you want to do?
Duplicate. In English, Control D copies. What is it in French? To just copy the rows above down.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be Control B.
Thank you.
Ba.
D for duplicate. B for what?
Ba.
Bar. Okay.
Down.
So have a look at this. I'm going to change this so it's 4th of 4th. And then I save this and I come back to Power BI and I'm going to refresh this data. Is that it?
Yes.
No, Power BI doesn't like it. And you see, the problem is that when I created those relationships, the cardinality is incorrect. Power BI guessed based on the data. And some columns had unique values, so Power BI assumed they are one side of the relationship. And that is certainly the case right here. Look at this relationship here. That should be the many side. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and fix it up. This should be from product to sale, should be one to many. And I want to make it a single direction filter. I talk about this later. And now you see the many side here. While I'm here, that is the same problem with date. Because there were unique orders, it did not understand that from sale to date, it's actually many to one. And I'll make it single direction. So let's just make sure that all of those cardinalities are correct. We've got one to many, one to many. This is truly a one-to-one. I'll talk about it in a minute. We have one to many for manager. And there we see the pattern. The sale table as a fact table is many, many, many. If I come back now and I refresh the data in my sale, there will no longer be an error because it will support multiple SKUs in the sale table. There we go. All right, next topic is to have a look at some calculations. So let's take a look at the sale table. Now that the relationships are in place, I have some snippets here that will let me create calculations like a new column for category. Have a look here that when I add this column, that I have a new column that has used the related function from the sale table to the product table to the subcategory table. It has retrieved the category. Some people think that is a lookup, like in Excel, VLOOKUP. It's not. Remember table expansion? The table expansion from sale to product to category, and then it said for this row, just get the value for category. That is what the related is doing. Now, another example, and that's actually a bad example, but let's look at a better example that I'm going to add a column for the discount amount. I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and this. Let me create the calculation, then we look at it. I've added a column for discount amount. This 40 cents here tells me that if we sold the product at the price, the list price, all right, this is it here. Whatever the list price of the product is, multiplied by the quantity and then subtract the sale amount. If the value is not 0, we must have discounted it. The sale price is less than what we should have charged. All right, so this is a real world example. We're using the related to look up, and let's look at the relationships here. This is a column that is on the sale table. The related does this. It went from here to here, and then from here to here to get the list price. It just goes in the one direction to find what it needs. Because there's strong relationships, the related function can do that. One more example. So on the subcategory table, I am going to create a column that is the count of orders. This uses the related table function. So while the related function returns from the one direction, the related table returns in the many direction. Count the rows of the related table, and we can see that there were 2 orders for hot beverages and 2 for snacks. What that means is that this column did this propagation. From the one to the many, return a table of all of the related rows. Okay. Only one of those calculations is good. You should never do this. That order count can be done at query time in a visual. You do not need to store it in a column unless it was super complicated and very slow. You might create a calculated column to improve query performance. We do not need this. It was a demonstration only. This one? And then in the sale table, one of them is bad as well. And here's an example where our fact table for sale has a column for filtering and grouping. Now, it really belongs on the one side in a dimension type table. As a demo, you can do it, but you should not do this. The discount amount is a good example of when you might use relationships in calculations. To get the list price, multiply by quantity, subtract the sales amount. All right, let me save my effort so far. All right, there's room for improvement. just because our data, our data is in all of these different files, doesn't mean that your model has to have one table per file. And so if we look at the example here, let's first of all look at these two. These are all product, category, subcategory, product. They shouldn't be in two tables. All right, so you could do this, but I would argue that you're making your field pane much more complicated for users. All right, at the moment, if they want product information, it is here, it is here, and it is here. So let's fix that. In the query editor, I would come to product and I would merge in the subcategory. That subcategory relates to subcategory, and then we'll introduce the category as a new column in this query. Then I do not load this to the model. I get a warning. Power BI says, this will delete the table from your model. That's exactly what I want. Please do that. So now when we come back, look at the model, pay attention here, and then I apply those changes. This is an improvement. We now have a single table for product that gives me category, subcategory, and product. And guess what? I can now do something like this. Create a hierarchy. You see, hierarchies do not work across tables. All of the columns must be in the same table to create the hierarchy. So this will become my products. And then I would create the levels of subcategory and of product. And this is a huge improvement to having two tables. But what about this here? A one-to-one relationship. Every row in the product table has a list price. It is exactly the same story. I can consolidate into a single table. So product, let's merge in the product list price, where SKU is a match to SKU, and then I've eliminated two tables. All right, make this a currency and disable the load of this. Okay, you got to be careful of one thing though, and that is that my beautiful discount amount is broken. All right, so before you start creating measures and other calculations, best that you make sure that all your tables and things are correct first, but it's an easy fix in this case. There's a question.
Yes.
Please ask.
Do we have some case where it is better to have two tables one-to-one, or is it better to do like you on Compress?
So the question's a good one. I just removed the one-to-one relationship, and generally it is better to have fewer tables. Okay, but in star schema design, there's a concept called Degenerate Dimension. Has anyone heard of Degenerate Dimension? Let's imagine in the sales table, we have a column that is the sales order. That is used for filtering and grouping. Technically, it does not belong in the fact table, but because it is a single column, to make it a separate table is actually inefficient. You're increasing the storage size of the model. And so you might change your rule. I will leave sales order in this table. If you choose to separate it, it's one-to-one. All right? So yes, there's an example where you might have a one-to-one, but generally, users prefer fewer tables, so consolidate them. So the rule would be, if they're dimension tables, consolidate. If they're fact tables to degenerate dimension, then separate into one-to-one. Other question?
Yeah, actually, I've got two questions. The first one is about the date table. Actually, I know that the date table should always be implemented in the model in Power BI and in SAS tabular model. I think this table should always be there, but is there any situation where it should be irrelevant to have a separate date table? I don't think so, but I just would like to understand the
So, a good question. So, I said that the date table should be in every model, and I agree that that should happen. But if you have a date column in your table, like order date here, if it is proof of concept, if it is demonstration, then okay. But in a robust model that I publish for other people to use, I want a date table. I want it to be marked as a date table. And that's going to benefit with time intelligence functions in DAX. So really, no exception.
So basically, you cannot use time intelligence functions without a date table. Okay.
No, because it wants the one side and it wants a full range of dates, because what a lot of the time intelligence functions do is offsetting.
Yeah.
They can't do that off a column. You also have a problem if you put the date in a slicer and then the user says, why is the 5th of January missing? We didn't sell anything on the 5th of January. And they don't expect, when they're trying to filter something, they still want to see items even though fact didn't happen on that day. So best practice, always separate date table.
Okay, and my second question is about what you just did about the hierarchy. So basically, you just merged two tables into one. My question is that I know that there is another solution, that is to create a new column in the table and use a related function to bring the column from the other table, and then I think you do the same thing, but is there any benefits from
There's
it?
huge benefits. So the example here is that when I had two tables, product and subcategory, what I could have done was use the related function to add a calculated column to product to bring category into subcategory. But that is not efficient because you're loading data that you're hiding. Okay, by doing it in Power Query, it's only loading what absolutely is needed in the model, so data reduction is the benefit that we have there. Okay, so if it's a small set of data, I'm okay with that, but if you have large volumes of data, that is very inefficient. Okay. All right, so where I'm up to is, we're now going to take a closer look at date, funnily enough. When you hover over a relationship, see how it highlights the columns. Sometimes if your relationship's not producing the correct result, maybe you have the wrong columns. Customer key is relating to product key. Okay, it'll produce random looking results. Now, notice that the sale table also has ship date. Okay, well, let's create another relationship. Ship date to date. We can do this, but what you need to understand is that relationships, there can only be one active path between two tables, and there's the active path. It is solid. When you see a dashed line, it is inactive. It means the filter propagation does not happen. Let's see in a report. Okay. This is when filter propagation happens on order date. I'll manage the relationships and do this. I'm going to make that inactive, and I'm going to make the ship date to date active. I'm switching them around. Look at how the result changes. January is missing. We sold in January, but we didn't ship anything in January. So, only one path can be active. Now this can be a problem. And you might solve this because I want, in the same visual, I want to see order date and ship date. And that's where this function can help us. Look at this. Let me copy and create this, and then I'll explain it. I'm going to create a measure on the sale table. And it uses the calculate function. And the calculate function is modifying the filter context for the visual, for the calculation. Where is my new measure? There it is. semicolon. Right, so take a look at this calculation that says,
We need to know.
one more.
So now you see how French people are suffering when they want to learn DAX in English.
Well, you know what I can do right now is in here I can do Control H, replace comma with this.
This way.
Okay, that'll fix that. Okay, so have a look at this. Calculate the sum of sales amount, but look at this modifier here that says, make this the relationship that you use. Even though it's inactive, for the purpose of this calculation, make it active, right? So what I'm going to do is create that measure. I'm going to return the status. Remember, it used to be, I'm going to make this inactive and I'm going to make the order date to date active. Now when I put the measure, it's very slow, when I put that measure into the visual, you can have both at the same time. Filter propagation for sale price is to order date. But filter propagation for sales shipped is to ship date. But that isn't a solution most of the time. Because what would happen if I want to filter and group at the same time by order date and ship date? Okay. Let me demonstrate. This is a bad example. In star schema, we call this role-playing dimension. The date plays different roles. Sometimes it means order date, sometimes it means ship date. This is not a robust solution. So I should do this. I'm going to create a new table that is named ship date. And it equals the date table. So as a calculated table, I simply say a new table named ship date equal what the date table is. And now we see in my model that I have a new table for ship date. All right, now I recommend very strongly that you go ahead and rename these columns too. So the date column, I'm going to rename as ship date. The month column will become ship month. All right, so I prefer this because they're very easy to understand. If I call it month, it introduces confusion. And then this becomes ship year. And now I create this active relationship from ship date here to ship date here. What this lets me do is to create a visual that looks like this. Let me create a stacked column chart, and I will put the date month on the axes, and I'll put the ship month on the legend, and then I'll put the sale amount as the value. I think I need to sort this. It's sorting not in the right direction, so I'll sort this by month and ascending. Now, do you see the way that this visual is at the same time filtering and grouping by different relationships? Look at this. In April 2020, everything that we sold, we shipped at the same month. But then I'll do this. Let me come in here and create a new order. And this hasn't shipped yet. Ship date is blank. I save this, come back, and refresh the data in sale. Have a look at this now. While it was ordered in April 2020, half of it was shipped in the same month, but the purple blank is the portion of April orders not yet shipped. If you're using inactive relationships, you can't do that. You can't filter and group at the same time. So my rule is I don't use inactive relationships unless it's only for the purpose of measures, and not lots of them, because then you have to create lots of variations of measures. Shipped sales, shipped orders, shipped quantity, shipped average sales, blah, blah, blah. No. If it's just a few measures that need a different filter propagation, then I will do inactive, but every other time create multiple tables. In Australia, one of my customers is an airline. Flight performance, 1 row per flight. Airport table, you need 2. Departure airport and arrival airport, because you must filter and group at the same time. All right, that's the topic of inactive relationships. How are we doing? All right, so it gets now a little more interesting, guys. So there's another subject that I need to add in here, and I'm conscious of time. We're going to go for 20 more minutes. The other subject is this. We have some sale target data. And have a good look at the sale target. By month and by subcategory, we have a target to sell. This is interesting because, for 2 reasons, this is interesting. So we'll wait for this to load. Where are you? He's over here. Let's bring it over here. So this is a second fact table, right? This is not a dimension table. So the model now has 2 stars. And the relationship from date to month is easy. But we have to be a little bit careful, because if we look at the data for sale target, because it's monthly, it's using the first day of the month. If you visualize this incorrectly, put day on the axes, you'll see that on the 1st of January, you must sell 110. For the rest of the month, you can go on vacation. Okay, that is a misinterpretation of the data. That the 1st of January represents the entire month of January, okay? So just be careful on how you choose to visualize that. But the next problem that we've got is that subcategory to subcategory, we can create this relationship, but look at this. It's many to many. Because there is no one column. There's no unique column on either side. Subcategory is at a higher level of granularity. All right, so there's a warning here, and I do not like this. In English, the warning is just vague. It doesn't mean anything. And you can click on this link, and you've got this long article, and it's, look, let me tell you what it means. What it means is this. First of all, it's a weak relationship. If you have data integrity issues, you may have elimination of results. Be very careful of your data quality. It also means, and let's filter from product, so filter from the dimension to the fact, make it active. It also creates an interesting situation if we do this. All right, so here's our new many-to-many cardinality from subcategory to category to subcategory. And what I do is I create, let me just copy this visual. I'm going to say by monthly subcategory, tell me the target. See, there's actually nothing wrong with that. In January, for hot beverages, you must sell 510, okay? But if I create a copy of this, and instead of using subcategory, I use product, what's going to happen? Look at this for January, 510, 310, 310, 510. You're using a column that is beneath the granularity of the relationship, and this is a problem. So weak relationship is one problem if there's data integrity issues. The second problem is that users might do something like this. They might want to filter or group by something that is beneath. So I'll just share with you something that you might do is create a measure like this. Let me copy and paste it. You might tell the measure to return blank if they're doing something that they should not do. The function here is in scope. So if product as a column is in scope, or it's, sorry, not in scope, then you can return the sum of quantity. Let's see how it works. So instead of using the quantity column here, all right, so I'll get rid of the total quantity and I'll use the new measure. That works exactly the same because product is not in scope. But here, because product is in scope, we get nothing back. All right, so you might want to be very careful about your users making silly requests because the relationship cannot propagate at lower granularity. So this is why Microsoft gave us this new many-to-many, is it helps us relate two tables where the fact table is at a higher granularity than the dimension table. Okay, making sense? It is a many-to-many relationship, but it's a very different to the one I'm about to talk about. Many-to-many means two things to Power BI. The cardinality is many-to-many because there is no unique column. But what about this? Remember that the managers are related to subcategories. And in fact, the second manager is related to multiple subcategories. That what we have is a many-to-many between the product table and the manager table. Managers can have multiple subcategories and subcategories can have multiple managers. This is a different problem to the subcategory sale target problem. Do we understand? There's a lot of confusion because they're both many-to-many. One's a cardinality, one is modeling. So what we're going to do is this. I need to create a table in the model that will give me all of the managers and their subcategories. Subcategory. Okay. So I just need two columns, the manager key and the subcategory. So I'm going to have to go in and merge again to get my manager key. Give me manager, pressing the control key, first name, last name, first name, last name. And there's my manager key. Now I can get rid of these columns. Where is my scroll bar? What about this column? Subcategory. Power BI doesn't like that. On a relationship, it's going to match on value. It cannot match on delimited values. So the trick here is we right-click and we... which one in French? This one?
Yes.
And by a delimiter, the semicolon. All right, and so I say that the semicolon is which one?
The fourth one.
This one?
Yes.
Okay. Each occurrence and for every row. This advanced option means look at the result of this. It's exactly what we want. All right, notice that Manager 2 has hot beverages and snacks. In star schema design, is this a fact table or a dimension table? It's a fact. All right, and it's a specific type of fact. It's what's known as a factless fact table. There are no measures. We are unlikely to summarize anything here. It is just for relationships that we're doing this. All right, so now I'm going to come back to the model. I'm going to apply that. And now we have to work out the relationships. And I'm going to remind you, this table for manager here is for the manager that made the sale. The new relationship is for the manager performance of sales, and they are measured by subcategories that they're responsible for. So when you think about it, manager is a role-playing dimension. Sometimes it means the manager that made the sale, and sometimes it means the manager that we're evaluating performance for. Think about it. It's like date and ship date. It's the same concept. All right, so we should have a new table somewhere here. There we go. So can I do this? Is that okay? Many to many. Let's see. Does Power BI let us do this? Remember, the rule is there cannot be multiple, between two tables, there can only be one way for filters to propagate. Well, Power BI is not complaining. If we filter the manager table, and let's do that now. New visual, show me the manager and show me their sales. Not interested in target quantity, just give me their sales. Like, what does this mean? Angus, $30.80. B, $4. What does it mean? Okay, so I guess I should be clearer. You can see there's a one-to-many propagating here, but look at these arrows. That by grouping on manager, it propagates to here, it propagates to here, and then it propagates to here. Is that happening? The way you test it is this. What if I make the relationship here inactive and see what happens? Okay, so here I make the relationship between manager key and sale inactive. What happens? See, the numbers changed because now the filter propagation is going from here. Manager 2 has 2 rows. All of the subcategories and their products are then used to filter here. Okay, so to be honest, Power BI Desktop should not let you do this.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there were no... Is it a bug? Because it should not let you create ambiguous models.
Yeah, so let's do this. Let me show you that if I made this relationship bidirectional, so I say filter in both directions, I get an error. It says, because there's ambiguity in filter propagation, but there is ambiguity here. It should be a bug. But internally, DAX, when it evaluates relationships, if it detects ambiguity, there are many rules, but it will choose the shortest path. Okay? This is 1, 2, 3 relationships. This is 1. Okay? But this is not a good model design because maybe in the future Power BI changes its mind. And you've tested it, you've published it, and then they change the engine and now it computes the other way. So you should not do this. Okay, so I'm going to end with a couple of calculations and we're done. That we do need in the model to propagate both ways. So what I want to see here is the manager's sale amount, but what I can do is this. the manager sale performance, let me create this calculation, then I'll explain it. All right, there's a function called cross filter, and cross filter allows you to do two things. You can turn a relationship off, or you can change its filter direction from one to both, or from both to one. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm turning the relationship off between manager and sale table. So for the purpose of this calculation, it's forcing the propagation to go the other way. So let's put this in. So you're in control at calculation time. Here's the difference. At model design time, those relationships are locked in. But expressions that you add on top of the model can override that behavior. As a modeler, you have a lot of choice. You will choose what makes most sense for your purpose. There is no rule on this. I would argue that this is not the best idea. What we could do is this, as a final demo. I'm going to get rid of that relationship. What does that mean for... There we go, no filter propagation happening anymore. But there's another way that we can control relationships, and that is with the treat as function. We can virtually propagate that filters on the manager table, for the purpose of this calculation, push those filters to this table. All right, so what I'll do here is copy it in, last one for tonight. How do I get to the end? I'm going to replace my manager sales performance with this one. Okay, calculate the sum of sales amount, treat as. Whatever the values are that are being used to filter the manager table, push them to the manager subcategory table. And at the same time, turn off filter propagation between manager and sale. It's doing two things. Turn off one relationship, and the filters that are on manager, push them to manager subcategory. So therefore, I do not need a relationship between manager and manager subcategory, and then we should see that our results are restored. All right, we have one manager table, any filters here are being pushed to here. So the final thing that I'm going to do is hide tables that I don't want users to know about. This is for the purpose of relationships. I don't want people reporting directly on it. It gets hidden. Columns like manager key and manager key, order date, SKU, ship date, subcategory a month here, these should all be hidden as well. And that's pretty important. We don't want users reporting on columns that are there to support the filter propagation between tables. So now what we've got is a nicer, cleaner, efficient, optimal model, and then contrast that with this single table that we had in the bad model. Okay, so the purpose of this demonstration was to show you the techniques we use for the one-to-many relationships, consolidation of tables, letting us add hierarchies, working with many-to-many cardinality if your fact table is higher granularity than dimension table. Or when we have managers and subcategories and managers, we have to introduce a bridging table, which, by the way, meant we had to propagate the filters in both directions. All right, a lot to cover. If we had more time, I would keep talking. I'm sure you wouldn't want that. So, where I want to finish this presentation is just to leave you with good guidance on your models. All right, this is a downloadable presentation. Star schema design is really important. For business analysts new to Power BI, This is a new topic, but do some research. If you can learn star schema, most star schema design works excellent in Power BI. Surrogate keys, snowflake dimensions, role-playing dimensions, junk dimensions, measures, factless fact tables. These are all topics that help you produce the best Power BI model. Table consolidation. Product list price and product, bring them together. Except, as we said, you might create a one-to-one for a fact table where you want a degenerate dimension. Active versus inactive. Try to avoid it, okay? Only do it if you know it's a few measures that you need to switch the use relationship. If you need to simultaneously filter and group by departure airport and arrival airport, they must be two tables with active relationships. Many-to-many relationships means two things. Many-to-many cardinality or many-to-many between dimensions. All right, so if it's relating facts at a higher grain, just use the many-to-many cardinality, but take care if people are going to filter by lower level columns like product. What will that mean? Maybe use measures to control and return blank. If you're relating two dimensions, then you have to introduce a bridging table, which is what this was here. Bi-directional filtering. Okay, one-to-one relationships are always bi-directional. You can't change that. All of the others will filter from the one side to the many side, and you can switch it back the other way. We don't want you doing this, except for many-to-many between two dimensions. Okay, the reason is Power BI has to work harder, and it can produce results that confuse users. All right, so generally, only bi-directional for many-to-many. All right, data integrity violation is a very, very quick follow-up conversation. Was this a data integrity issue? Ship date is missing.
Depends on the business.
Depends on the business. Think about it, sales. When you create an order, it hasn't been shipped yet. It might be next week that it gets shipped. So there's an example, but notice that it's on the many side of the relationship. What would it mean if I created another row and the product was one that does not exist in the product table? I'm going to save that, come back to my page 1 of the report here, remember monthly sales, and I'm going to refresh the sales. Perhaps what I'll do is put, instead of month, I will put category. That is the table expansion going on. That product XXX does not exist in the product table blank, blank, blank. Okay? So when you see those blanks turn up in your report, it could be a data quality issue, that the many side has a value that the one side does not have, or it could be legitimate. The many side is literally blank. It depends. Just know your data. If you have unexpected blanks, troubleshoot and fix. All right. So Power BI for strong relationships will detect them for you. If it's a weak relationship, you know what will happen? That 9.9 will disappear. You won't know about it. So it's very dangerous in a weak relationship if you have data integrity issues. All right, and 2 quick conversations about DirectQuery and Composite. So for DirectQuery, there's just 2 other things you need to know. That there is a property called assume referential integrity. In French, that's going to be called intégrité référentielle supposée. That is disabled because it's an import model. If this was a DirectQuery model, that would be enabled. What you're telling Power BI is that when you join the tables in the source system, use an inner join, not a left outer join. If data integrity is enforced in the source system, you should turn that on. It will improve query performance. And so, yeah, there we go. The other thing you can do in DirectQuery is the combine values function. If your source system uses multi-column joins, Power BI models don't like this, but you can use combine values to create calculated columns, create relationships on them, and then the DirectQuery will do multi-column joins. All right, so that's the two differences in DirectQuery. And then for Composite, you need to be careful of those weak relationships across the stores. Import data and DirectQuery, every relationship spanning those tables will be weak. So data integrity is very, very important to you. And that's about it. I would avoid composite modeling at any time if I could. That's what a data warehouse is for. Pre-integrate everything into one store and then produce a single model on it. Composite should be an absolute exception that I have no choice but to import and DirectQuery at the same time. We saw tonight that there is actually a compelling reason coming, DirectQuery over Power BI datasets, and the ability then to extend them through import data is extremely powerful. So just take care that you've got integrity for those relationships when you do it. I've arrived at the end of my presentation. There's so much to say about relationships, and there's actually more I'd like to say, but time doesn't permit. Are there any final wrap-up questions? No? Okay. Marketing slides follow. Don't worry about them. If you want training and you're coming into Australia, I'd be happy to train you. And, you know, the Data Warehouse Toolkit is still an excellent publication for relational data warehousing, but the star schema discussion in that book is very helpful for you in Power BI. If you would like to download all of that presentation, then feel free to do so now. There's a URL and a QR code, and I'll take this opportunity to thank you very much for your time, your interest, your attendance, and your patience in listening to an English presentation tonight. Merci. You're welcome.
Thank you, Peter. So let's go to... On sera ravis de partager